There is a device that costs roughly $12 that GM has known about for over a decade. They never mentioned it, recommended it, or told the millions of Chevy and GMC owners whose engines are slowly destroying themselves that this device exists. Right now, NHTSA has an open investigation covering nearly 878,000 of these trucks and SUVs. GM's own internal data shows over 28,000 engine failures. The device that prevents all of it costs $12 and takes 10 seconds to plug in. GM would rather sell you a new engine. This video shows you what they buried. Welcome to We Are Auto Nerds. Like this video and subscribe to our channel if you like the video. Your Chevy 5.3 liter has a feature built into it that General Motors does not want you to think about. It is called active fuel management. When your truck is cruising at a steady speed, the computer shuts down 4 of your 8 cylinders to save fuel. When you need power again, it fires them back up. Sounds smart. Sounds efficient. Here is why it is destroying your engine. The system relies on a special type of internal engine component that is fundamentally different from a standard one. Think of it as a part atelier within a part. 2 pieces that telescope inside each other, held together by tiny, spring-loaded locking pins. When the computer decides you do not need all 8 cylinders, it sends pressurized oil through a manifold buried deep in the engine valley to push those locking pins inward. The 2 pieces disconnect. The valves on that cylinder stay closed. Fuel shuts off. The cylinder becomes dead weight riding along inside your running engine. When the computer wants all 8 cylinders back, it releases oil pressure, the pins snap back out, and the cylinder fires again. This entire transition happens in under a quarter of a second. 2 full crankshaft revolutions. And here is what matters. It happens hundreds of times during a single drive. Every highway on-ramp, every hill, every time you touch the gas pedal and let off. Lock, unlock, lock, unlock. Thousands of cycles a week. Those locking pins wear out. When they do, the part gets stuck in its collapsed position. It can no longer transfer the motion it needs to open the valves. The cylinder goes dead. But your engine does not just lose power. The failure cascades. A collapsed part puts abnormal stress on the pushrod sitting above it. The pushrod bends. A bent pushrod means the valve cannot open at all. And now you have a completely dead cylinder creating vibration, misfires, and stress on everything around it. It gets worse. If the plastic guide tray that holds these parts in place has degraded from heat and age, and it almost always has by 80,000 miles, the part can rotate in its bore. When it rotates, it no longer tracks the camshaft lobe correctly. It gouges the lobe. It grinds it down. One experienced GM technician said he has never seen one of these parts rotated in the tray and found the camshaft in good shape. Not once. Metal shavings from the destroyed camshaft lobe circulate through your oil system. They attack bearings. They score cylinder walls. And in the worst cases, you get connecting rod failure and complete engine seizure. No warning, no check engine light beforehand. Just silence in a tow truck. $12 to prevent all of that, or $3,000 to $8,000 to fix it after it happens. And if the camshaft is gone and metal has contaminated the oil system, you are looking at a full engine replacement north of $11,000. You know what is wild about this? None of it is a surprise to GM. They have known about every single stage of this failure sequence for nearly 20 years. They have documented it in their own service bulletins. And they have never once issued a recall for the design that causes it. Now here's what should concern every Chevy and GMC truck owner listening to this right now. If you own a Silverado 1500, Sierra 1500, Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, Yukon XL, Avalanche, or Escalade, built between 2007 and today, your truck almost certainly has this system. The Generation 4 engines, the LC9, LMG, LH6, and LY5 5.3-liter V8 engines, carried active fuel management from 2007 through 2014. The Generation 5 Ecotec 3 engines, the L835.3 liter and the L866.2 liter, continued active fuel management from 2014 through 2019. In 2019, General Motors made the problem worse. They introduced dynamic fuel management on the L845.3 liter and the L876.2 liter engines, instead of equipping 8 of 16 internal components. With the collapsing design, dynamic fuel management puts all 16 components in that collapsing design. Instead of switching between 4-cylinder and 8-cylinder modes, the engine computer now runs 17 different firing patterns, and it can make up to 80 deactivation decisions per second. More complex parts, more cycling, more opportunities for failure. The engineering got more aggressive, not less. And here is a detail that should make every GM truck owner stop and think. During the chip shortage in 2020 and 2021, GM could not source the semiconductors needed to run the deactivation system. So they shipped thousands of Silverados and Sierras with the L84 engine hardware intact, but the deactivation software turned off. Those trucks run on all 8 cylinders all the time. Owners of those trucks report 0 lifter problems. 0 ticking, 0 misfires, the same engine, the same block, the same internals. The only difference is the system that shuts cylinders down is not running. GM accidentally proved that the engine is not the problem. The feature is the problem. And then they turned it back on as soon as the chips were available again. The oil manifold buried in the valley of your engine is another ticking clock. It has a fine mesh filter screen inside it that is supposed to keep debris out of those solenoids controlling oil flow to the deactivation components. That screen clogs, typically by 60,000 miles. When it clogs, oil pressure to the components drops below the 22 pounds per square inch minimum they need to lock and unlock cleanly. They start sticking, they start wearing, and there is no maintenance interval to clean or replace that screen. It is not on any service schedule GM has ever published. A $40 screen replacement could prevent a $4,000 failure. But if it is not on the schedule, it does not exist as far as your dealer is concerned. So here's what this means for your truck. You are driving to work tomorrow morning. You merge onto the highway. Your engine switches from 8 cylinders to 4. You speed up to pass someone. It switches back to 8. You settle into cruise, back to 4. You take your exit, back to 8. That cycle happens dozens of times in a 30-minute commute. Every single day. Every single cycle puts wear on those locking pins, stress on that oil manifold, and strain on parts that were not designed to survive this many transitions over 150,000 miles. Here is the part that makes me angry. GM issued a Technical Service Bulletin for this problem. TSB number 150601002. First published around 2015. They have revised it at least 14 times. 14 revisions of the same bulletin describing the same failure on the same engines. And the fix they prescribe to their own dealerships is to replace the failed parts with the exact same design, the same parts that failed in the first place. Multiple owners have documented those replacement parts failing again within 3,000 miles. The class action lawsuit, Harrison versus General Motors, filed in federal court with over 40 plaintiffs, specifically alleges that GM authorizes its dealerships to replace defective parts with identical defective parts under warranty. A separate lawsuit resulted in a $150 million settlement covering 38,000 owners of 2011 through 2014 trucks with the LC95.3. If you are still watching, you already know more about what is happening inside your 5.3 than most Chevy owners will ever learn. Subscribe now and share this video with anyone you know who drives a Silverado, Sierra, Tahoe, or Suburban. What comes next is the part your dealership will never tell you. Here is the test. It costs you nothing. It takes 60 seconds, and it can save you thousands. Start your truck cold first thing in the morning. Let it idle. Listen. A healthy engine at idle sounds smooth, a steady even rhythm, with no metallic noises cutting through. Now listen for a tick. Not the normal injector tick that sounds like a quiet clicking from the top of the engine. You are listening for something deeper, a rhythmic metallic knock that pulses at approximately half the speed of the engine. It sounds like someone tapping a socket wrench against a block of aluminum once per second, steady and rhythmic. It is most noticeable between 1,000 and 1,200 revolutions per minute, which is exactly the range where the deactivation system engages. If you hear that tick and it goes away after the engine warms up, you are in the early stage. The parts are starting to stick, but they are still functioning. You have time, but not much. If the tick persists after warm-up and gets louder under light acceleration, you are in the moderate stage. The parts are collapsing and not re-engaging properly. Get it inspected within the next 1,000 miles. If you hear a loud, aggressive knock, accompanied by a rough idle and a check engine light, especially codes P0300 for random misfire, or cylinder-specific codes P0301, P0304, P0306, or P0307, you are in the severe stage. Those are the 4 deactivation cylinders. Stop driving. Have it towed. Continuing to drive with a collapsed part risks camshaft destruction and full engine failure. If you take it to a mechanic, tell them to check specifically for a collapsed deactivation lifter and a damaged camshaft lobe on the affected cylinder. If they try to tell you it is just a bad coil pack or a fouled spark plug, walk out. Those are Band-Aid diagnoses that miss the real problem entirely. There is one more thing you can check. Pull your oil dipstick. If your oil level is dropping faster than normal between changes, the deactivation system may be contributing to excessive oil consumption. General Motors had to recalibrate the oil life monitor on these engines after widespread complaints about oil burning. Let me show you something crazy. Everything I just told you, the tick, the misfire codes, the oil consumption, the specific cylinders that fail, none of it is hidden. It is all in GM's own Technical Service Bulletin. They documented every symptom. They identified every failure mode. They told their dealerships exactly what to look for. They just never told you. Now, here is the device I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It is called an AFM disabler. It is a small plug-in module about the size of a matchbox that connects to your truck's OBD2 diagnostic port. That is the same port under your dashboard where a mechanic plugs in a scan tool. You plug it in. It takes 10 seconds, and it sends a signal over your truck's computer network that prevents the engine from ever entering cylinder deactivation mode. Your engine runs on all 8 cylinders all the time, the way it was designed to run before GM added the system that is destroying it. It does not reprogram your computer. It does not alter your engine calibration. It does not void your warranty. If you unplug it, your truck goes back to 100% stock operation with no trace. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act requires the dealer to prove an aftermarket part caused a specific failure before denying warranty coverage. Since this device reduces stress on your engine rather than increasing it, that is an argument no dealer wants to make. The most popular option is the Range Technology RA003, which runs between $220 and $260. It plugs into the OBD2 port and works on 2005 through 2021 trucks and SUVs. For 2022 and newer models with the refreshed interior, Range makes the RA007, a module that wires in line with the engine computer harness and also disables auto stop start. That one runs $230 to $256 and carries a California emissions compliance order. If you want the best value, the Carbite by OBDlink runs $134 to $149. It plugs into the OBD2 port, disables both the deactivation system and auto stop start, includes a built-in scan tool with a smartphone app, and works with a 10-speed transmission and 2022 and newer refresh models. Budget options exist. The boost disabler runs $100 to $150 with a lifetime warranty. Generic modules from brands like OBDKR run $50 to $57 on Amazon, and forum teardowns have shown they use cloned circuit boards from the name brand units. They work on most vehicles made before 2019. Anything under $20 is not a functional disabler. Skip it. Now, if your engine has already developed the tick or thrown misfire codes, a plug-in disabler alone is not enough. The damage has started. The real fix is a full hardware delete. That means replacing all 16 lifters with standard non-collapsing units, installing a camshaft that does not allow cylinder deactivation, blocking off the oil manifold with a valley cover plate, and having the engine computer retuned to remove the deactivation programming. Parts from suppliers like Texas Speed and Performance or AMS Racing run $500 to $1,000. A custom ECU tune from HP Tuners or Trifecta adds $300 to $600. Total parts cost for a do-it-yourself job lands between $800 and $1,600. At an independent shop, the full job with labor runs $2,700 to $5,000. Compare that to $11,500 at a dealer for an engine replacement, and the math is not complicated. The industry just prefers you never do it. $150 for the disabler, or $8,000 for the repair. Your engine, your choice. Stay with me on this last part. I know I have been throwing a lot at you, but this is where it all comes together into something you can do this weekend. If your truck is new or low mileage, install a plug-in disabler immediately. Do not wait for symptoms. The damage from the deactivation system is cumulative and silent. Every mile you drive with the system active is wear on parts that cannot be inspected without pulling the engine apart. Change your oil every 5,000 miles with the manufacturer specified weight, typically 5W30 or 0W20. Depending on your model year, use a Dexo certified full synthetic. Do not trust the oil life monitor to tell you when to change it. That monitor was calibrated for fuel economy, not for the demands the deactivation system puts on your oil. If your truck has more than 75,000 miles and you have never run a disabler, listen for the tick test I described earlier. If you hear anything suspicious, get a compression test and a valve train inspection before committing to a disabler alone. Preventing further damage is only useful if the damage has not already started. And here is the pro tip that can save you $1,500. If you are doing a full hardware delete and your truck has more than 100,000 miles, replace the water pump and the timing chain guides at the same time. The labor overlap. You are already deep enough into the engine that adding those parts costs almost nothing in extra shop time, and it eliminates the two other common failure points on high-mileage 5.3-liter engines in a single visit. Your 5.3-liter V8 was built to run 300,000 miles. The engine block is iron, the rotating assembly is forged. The bottom end of that motor is one of the most durable powertrains GM has ever produced. The deactivation system is not the engine. It is a fuel economy feature bolted onto the engine that is destroying it from the inside. Now you know how to shut it off. If this video saved you from a repair bill you did not see coming, subscribe to our channel. We publish real mechanical knowledge every single week. Share this with every Chevy and GMC truck owner you know. Because plugging in a device takes 10 seconds, and the knowledge behind why you need it took General Motors 20 years to bury. I will see you in the next one.